Like, it literally felt like I was being dragged down to some deep, dark pit where if I didn't fight as hard as I could, I would never get out. So as you've already seen by today's title, today I'm going to be having a conversation with you all. And this conversation is going to be a bit of a roller coaster, so fasten your seatbelts. I'm going to be giving you all my ultimate testimony, okay, as to why I decided to give my life over to Christ. And I know everybody's story is different as to why they made that decision, but I'm just hoping that my story will maybe help someone who's in a similar or related situation right now, or maybe a completely unrelated situation. Who knows? God works in mysterious ways, so we'll see. Before we get into the testimony, I'm gonna need y'all to take a look at that big red button on your screen. If you're on your laptop, if you're on your phone, it's just gonna be some bright red letters that read SUBSCRIBE. Okay? No, it won't end the world if you press it, but it might just spew out a free taco. Who knows? I don't know. You're just gonna have to press it and see what happens. Now, without any further ado, let's get into it. So I was baptized in the name of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ on February 28, 2016, and I was filled with the amazing Holy Ghost the very next Sunday, March 6, 2016. Now, this all took place at the amazing church that I now go to called APC, Apostolic Pentecostal Church of Pickering. Bob, I will leave their link right here so you can go check them out after this video. Now, just before I was baptized on that Sunday, so much had taken place in my life, it wasn't even funny. So I was in my last year of college, sort of, and three major things were taking place at that point in time. My school life was going crazy, my love life was going crazier, and my mind was going craziest. Firstly, school. Now, since it was near the end of the semester, there was big assignments piling up, I had a bunch of tests to study for, and all that crazy hectic stuff. And of course I would have been fine and dandy because that's usual and normal for college and high school and stuff like that, except for the fact that about halfway through that program I realized that that was not at all what I wanted to do with the rest of my life. So this just ended up making it 10 times harder to put my all into my studies because I felt like it was a waste of time and money and all that good stuff. So I mean, I don't see myself as a quitter, and I didn't then, so I kind of just stuck it out and completed the program and got my diploma. So that was school. Then there was my relationship. So she basically messaged me and she's like, hey, she told me her name and she's like, she messaged me a bunch of messages, like screenshots of messages between her and him. And not only did she message those screenshots, but the screenshots were from Tinder. Y'all remember that app? That unnecessary yet addicting but completely a waste of time app. Yeah, that one. So yeah, basically she's like, hey, I just want to let you know that your boyfriend is on Tinder and he's been messaging me and all that stuff. And I'm just like, long story short, I messaged him about it or confronted him about it and we broke up. Okay, now I know y'all are probably like, aw, poor teen. But honestly, it's not as bad as it sounds. Okay, yeah, what he did was as bad as it sounds, and yeah, I felt like crap afterwards, but not as bad as I thought I would be feeling. So this incident, like, helped me realize that as much as I may have liked him, I never really loved him. But I never really realized that until this incident took place. So I guess I ended up realizing that I like the idea of being in a relationship. So I can have that person that I could always talk to when I'm stressed out, or that person who would always make me feel good about myself, who would tell me that they loved me and that I was beautiful and smart, that person who would comfort me when I felt alone, that person that I could call on any time of the day. Y'all probably already see where I'm going with this, huh? No? Okay. Basically, I realized that he was just there to fill a void. Of course, this is just one example, like the guy that I was seeing before I made the transition, but there were many others, okay, where similar things took place, and I was able to afterwards come to the same realization about that void. So thirdly was my mind. And when I say my mind was going crazy, I literally mean crazy. It was definitely a gradual effect. When I started college, I immediately got into everything. So drinking, partying, drugs, the whole 9 fields. Yards. But after a while, I started to realize that I couldn't really live without that stuff. Now, I'm not saying I was an alcoholic or an addict or anything like that, but I mean, I'd be indulging in those things at least once or twice every week. Now, I loved your average alcohol and weed, but my favorite drug was actually Molly. I think it was my favorite not only because it made me feel free and like I could talk to anyone and say anything and do anything and go anywhere, but mainly because it made me feel good. I know that sounds a little underrated or whatever, but like it made me feel like I looked good, like I felt good, like anything I looked at was good, like my environment was good, everything was good. But the biggest thing that it did for me was make me completely carefree. I know this all kind of sounds like the same effects of alcohol, but when you're drunk, you still remember your problems and the negative feeling that it gives you to think about them, but you still remember that you have 16 assignments due next week. You still remember that you live alone and that you're always lonely. You still remember that you have absolutely no idea what you want to do with the rest of your life. But with Molly, that wasn't there. The world looked better. People seemed genuinely nicer. The things that used to hurt you when you thought about them, they didn't have the same effect on you anymore because you were completely, or at least I was completely, carefree. So basically, like I said, this stuff started to gradually get to me mentally. And when second last semester rolled around and school started piling on and becoming more hectic, especially since I did not want to be there, and when that breakup happened and that just messed with me, just emotionally, I just ended up having a serious mental breakdown, but a spiritual mental breakdown. Now, I think this actually happened like a few weeks before I actually came to ABC and got baptized, if I'm not mistaken. But basically, one night I was at my apartment, I was watching TV, and I ended up falling asleep completely. And then I woke up, but not fully. So I was in some type of spiritual sleep paralysis, I guess is what they call it, but it was a spiritual one. And I was conscious, but I couldn't talk, couldn't open my eyes, and I couldn't move. Now, this has happened to me in the past, or had happened to me in the past, so it's not like I didn't experience it before, but it was never to that extent. Like, it literally felt like I was being dragged down to some deep, dark pit where if I didn't fight as hard as I could, I would never get out. So the one thing that I was doing, and the one thing that you are supposed to do if this ever happens to you, is call on the name of Jesus. My mom always taught me that, and even though I wasn't in the church or walking with God, it's something that I just knew to do. So I was calling on his name in my head, and after about 10 or so minutes, I really don't remember, I woke up, but not fully. My eyes were open, but I still couldn't move, I still couldn't talk. So I just continued doing that over and over again. It was like a really hard struggle, like just saying the name, not being able to move or speak or anything else. Like, that's all I was able to do. It was really hard, but I continued to do that, and finally that whatever was holding me down in that state let go. So I got up after I fully was able to move and talk and stuff, and I just sat at the end of my bed, and I was just sitting there breathing. I'm not really doing much, just thankful to be actually able to move and talk and stuff. And then it started to feel like, or then I started to feel like there was this uneasiness in the room. I don't know really how to explain it. But it felt like whatever was holding me was still there. So I ended up picking up my phone and calling my mom. And at first I was quiet. I wasn't saying anything. I was just quiet on the phone. And she's like, what's wrong? What's wrong? And then after a few minutes, I finally said, I don't want to be here anymore. Like, something just happened. I can't be here anymore. I can't be here right now. I wasn't really explaining why. Like, I just knew I couldn't be there, and that's what I was saying. So obviously she was confused, asked me to explain like what was going on. So I explained to her what happened, and she's, from that moment, obviously understood that something spiritual was taking place. So she basically just told me, like, you need to continue calling on the name of Jesus. Start praying, keep praying. Obviously she's gonna pray, but she's like, you don't need to worry, you're gonna be okay, basically. And after that, we just hung up. So after the phone call, I sat there, and then I started to look around my room, and in my room I had like a bunch of posters on the wall, different sceneries and just different people, like Bob Marley, Marilyn Monroe, Audrey Hepburn, just placed all over my wall. So I started looking at the posters, and I was looking into their faces, and it legit looked as if their faces were turning into deformed demons. Like, I know how that sounds, but their faces, like their eyes were going black and extending and getting larger. Their jaws were just extending and going down, and it was just like dark. Like, I don't know how to explain it, but that's what I saw. So I kept looking at their faces, and after a while it started to look like they were coming out of the posters, and literally like it felt like they were trying to get me. And from there, I lost it. I literally ran to each of the posters. I started pulling the tacks out of the walls, ripping the posters off my walls. And as this was happening, I'm just crying my eyes out. I'm so confused and scared and angry all at the same time. So after I was done ripping everything off of my walls, then I picked up my phone again and I called my mom. And I'm just like, yeah, no, something or someone is here in my room. They're trying to get me. I need to leave right now. I can't stay here. I need to bounce, and you need to help me. So she said, okay, I'll send Jordan, my brother, to come and get you. So I packed up some things, and I just sat on my bed waiting in my room for him to come. But while I was sitting there waiting, it was like my mind was being taken over by something that was trying to convince me that in that moment I was going crazy. Like, I was actually crazy. Something was trying to convince me of that. So I started to write some things down. Now this is my old sermon, or my very first sermon taking note journal, whatever you want to call it. So I write down any preachings, any notes on preachings from church, or if I'm doing devotionals, or if I'm fasting, anything regarding the word, I would take notes on it and put it in here. So basically this became, or is now to this day, a perfect reminder of where God actually brought me from, like my actual testimony, like what that moment in time where I realized I needed to make that transition. Like, this is a perfect example of that, because of what I wrote in here first. So I actually got this from the ex that I was talking about earlier in the video. He gave it to me for Christmas because he knew I liked writing, so it was a really nice gift, but I never wrote in it once. It was just sitting on my night table for the longest time, and I never wrote in it until that night when I was sitting there waiting. I saw it and I started writing. Now this is what I wrote when I was sitting there at the edge of my bed waiting for my brother, and I felt like whatever it was trying to make me go crazy. I think I'm crazy. A light bulb, a car, a key, a teddy bear, a bottle of wine, a guitar, and a butterfly. 7 things. Don't ask me what they mean, because I have no idea what they mean. I mean, in reality, they're just 7 things. 7 things with no real significance to me or to anyone. 7 things that exist, but no one ever really thinks about. 7 things that I can't seem to stop thinking about. When I drew them, I probably didn't realize or really know what I was drawing at the time. I probably never knew that a light bulb was meant to light up a room so people wouldn't be left in the dark. I probably never knew that cars were meant to take people away from situations that they couldn't handle anymore. I probably never knew that a key was meant to unlock things that need to be protected. I probably never knew that teddy bears were meant to provide people with comfort when no one else could. I probably never knew that a wine bottle was meant for the same thing. I probably never knew how the sound of a guitar was meant to provide people with joy. I probably never knew about the beauty. I probably never knew about the beauty that is the butterfly, and how something can go from being so captivated to so free in the matter of seconds. 7 things that exist, and 7 things that I cannot stop thinking about. You know, people throw that word around a lot these days. Crazy, that is. Even had it thrown at me a few times. People nowadays use it like it has no meaning, but it does. Everything has meaning. Even 7 random things you never thought twice about. Significance. I think that's the real question. Sure, everything has a meaning, but does everything have a significance? Do these 7 random things have a significance? Or am I just crazy? So yeah, that's basically what I wrote. Very first passage in here, and don't ask me to explain it. Really, to this day when I read it, I don't really understand. But the reason that I did write that down is because in that moment I was feeling so lost, so confused, scared, and obviously, of course, I wasn't walking with God, but I knew of God enough to know that in that environment, with all that negative energy or spiritual things that were going on, I needed to kind of talk to him. So I had my Bible there. This is a Bible I had from years and years and years ago. I never really read it, but I've always carried it with me. So I picked up my Bible and I was about to read it. And on the front of the Bible, I don't know where it is, I think it's upstairs somewhere, but on the front of the Bible, there were like etchings inside of it, like drawings on the very front of the hardcover Bible. And I was looking at it in the light, and I'm like trying to decipher what the drawings were, because there were little tiny drawings everywhere on there. And that's the Bible I had when I was a little kid. So what I remember is when I was a kid and I was in church, I would like be drawing stuff. So I would have a paper on the Bible and I'd be drawing. So the etchings for my drawings would go inside of the hardcover. So those 7 things that I was writing about were the 7 pictures that I saw on the very front cover of the Bible. And yeah, the whole reason I picked up the Bible was so I could read it, but I didn't end up reading it because I got lost in those pictures. And then I just started writing down all that stuff that I just read with regards to the pictures, and I don't know where my mind went in terms of how or what I was writing, but I kind of just wrote what each kind of picture was making me feel in that moment, or what I thought about each of the pictures. And yeah, but to me that was kind of the devil or the enemy trying to stop me from making my mind continue rolling down that path of crazy, or whatever you want to call it, because I was about to open the Bible and most likely get a word from God that would help me and encourage me in that moment, but I didn't. I just got stuck in that, and he used that and the state of mind that I was already in and just brought me to write down that stuff. Now, obviously what I wrote, it could have been way worse than it was, way more cray, but what it did was stop me from getting a word that would probably have given me the strength I needed in that moment of weakness. Now, it took about 40 minutes for my brother to get there. So when he got there, I got into the car, got my bags, and we drove home. Now, fast forwarding a little bit, ever since that specific night and that incident, I just had this uneasy, uncomfortable feeling that I could not shake. So a few weeks later, my mom called and said that she found a church for us to go to, and that would be going on the following Sunday. And hearing that, I was actually pretty excited. And not just because we got a whole new wardrobe. Fast forwarding once more, on that Sunday when we went, the message was pretty clear for me. Unless you give your life over to Jesus, you will end up on a road that will ultimately drag you down and lead you to destruction. So I made the decision to get baptized and started my life with Christ. Now, what I want to point out is those 3 things that I mentioned in the video that led up to me being saved are things that everybody deals with and everybody goes through. Everybody has that moment in time where they don't know who or what they're supposed to be. Everyone has that moment or moments in life where they need someone or something to fill that void that they feel. And believe it or not, everyone has or will hit a breaking point. Now, maybe not to the same extent that I did or in the same way, but they do. Now, this just goes to show that everyone needs Jesus. It doesn't matter if you're as low as I was or as high as I wanted to be. You could possibly have everything figured out right now. What job you're gonna have, who you're gonna be with, where you're gonna live, the name of the dog that you're gonna get for you and your family. Maybe it's Tito, maybe it's Marco, maybe it's Polo. But if you don't have Jesus, there will always be unfulfillment. There will always be confusion. There will always be a void. No matter what you try and fill your life with, there will always be a void. And you will always feel the need to fill said void. This is exactly why when we get an iPhone 6, we later want an iPhone 8. That's why when you get a promotion, you want another promotion. That's why when you get $1 million, you want $2 million. That's why when you drink on Friday, you want to drink on Saturday too. That's why when you pop a Molly at 10 p.m., you want another one by 3 a.m. That's why when you get a girlfriend or a boyfriend, you later start wanting a new girlfriend or a new boyfriend. Now with that particular one, it's literally like a game nowadays. It goes, girl likes boy, boy likes girl. They text, they flirt, they date, they're together 1 month, 2 months, 6 months, 1 year. And then it's, I'm tired of you. Or I want someone new. Or you hurt me, so I'ma hurt you. Or. You wanna know why this happens? Because God never created these things to last. He never created your house to last. He never created your job to last. He never created your money to last. All of these things were meant to pass away. Jesus is literally the only one who is here to stay. So if you want all of these things in your life to stay, if you want to be at that happy place, if you want to have that fulfillment that never goes away, all you have to do is get Jesus. Why? Because Jesus is everlasting. So everything that you get with him, through him, by him, will be everlasting as well. In a way. In other words, that void won't be there. You will feel fulfilled. You will feel complete all the time, no matter what you're going through, good or bad. Now, with that being said, I truly do hope that this helps somebody out there, even if it's just one person who now realizes how freeing it is and how amazing it is to just give your life over to Jesus. If this video helped you, if it taught you at least one thing, hey, like it, comment that one thing, share it with 1 or 2 friends, okay? Because you honestly never ever know what someone is going through and what someone needs at a particular moment in time. Now smash that like button, smash that subscribe button, and smash that taco button so you all can stay connected with us, the family of seekers. And last but not least, stay fierce. Gosh, my back hurts. I should have chose a different chair. I need a massage. This orange juice is really good. It's not your typical orange juice. I forget the name. It's really good. Mom! Is dinner ready? Can you share mine out?